Good day and welcome back to another DB Legends video. In this video we're going to discuss a little bit about whether you should be summoning for the Ultra Golden Frieza, Ultra Super Janemba, or the Ultra Buu Kid. Now I'm going to preface this by saying, one of two things. Firstly, all three of these Ultras weirdly have some really cool synergy. Frieza buffs powerful opponent and movie sagas, Janemba buffs movie sagas and regen, and Buu buffs regen and powerful opponent. So you could potentially line up all three of these in a team, and honestly, considering it's an ultra heavy lineup, it still probably wouldn't be too bad. You could easily Zenkai boost all three of them on that team, and I think all three are still decent in the meta, with Frieza clearly being the best, Janemba still being pretty solid, and Buu being definitely usable. Now, with that being said, we need to discuss whether you should actually summon on these banners. Now, the second thing I want to say is, quite frankly, summoning on this banner is a difficult situation. The reason is quite simply because of this. Part 2 brings 2 more Legends Limited characters. Part 3 brings an Ultra. That's generally how they've run Anniversary for Legends recently, or the big events. The big thing is looking at this kind of situation. Ultra banners remain the same. So even with the new release of the new unit, Ultra banners are honestly super duper similar to all of each other. Big Z power for the Ultra, terrible other units, and then obviously an incentive to summon on that banner because that's how you get Ultras. The thing is, the new Ultra is probably going to be the best unit in the game. Traditionally, that's how it's always worked out. The Anniversary Ultra is the best unit in the game for like 2 months post Anniversary by like quite some distance, and then they start to claw them back in around the 3rd month from the Anniversary by creating some kind of counter. Then they start creating another counter, then a new Ultra comes out. So yeah, generally speaking though, the Anniversary unit is kind of the big dog. Frieza, for example, is great. Frieza is still very relevant in the meta. His team's received a ton of buffs with a couple of Zenkais that have come out. For example, for Broly, for Zamasu, there's tons of incentive. However, with that being said, although Frieza is great, there is kind of this understanding that Frieza's great, his team is great, but there's going to be the 3rd part Ultra. Now I do think if you are someone who loves powerful opponents, if you're more villain centric, the 3rd part Ultra is going to be a super character. It's probably going to be a Gogeta or something along that lines. So I think if you're more villain centric, these Ultras are going to appeal more to you. Frieza is definitely the most usable of the bunch, but Janemba is also pretty good. He has a lot of great autoplay mechanics. He's kind of like a baby version of Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. Very useful, has lots of good auto counters that help a lot of new players. He's a very solid character still. And then you get Kid Buu, who is still solid, again, quite functional, does some good damage, has some good abilities. As a unit though, traditionally speaking, the big thing with Kid Buu, he's a little bit older now. A little bit older. Not terrible by any stretch of the imagination. Tons of healing. Really, really tanky when he gets going. But he is a little bit older. There's also still some strong reds in the meta that are going to give him problems. But ultimately, at the end of the day, he's still useful. And I think if you summon on any of these Ultra banners, you either spend money, which is fine, or you're kind of foregoing summoning in part 3. Realistically, if you want the part 3 Ultra, you're going to have to probably skip these, especially as a free-to-play player. However, if you're someone who spends money, likes villains, and prefers powerful opponents, then these are going to be the missing pieces for your team, especially Frieza. He's probably going to be the missing piece for your team. So keep an eye out for that, but yeah, that's my opinion.